My name is Omoyele Sowore. I'm the presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC. Ensure that in my lifetime, Nigeria achieves its potential to become a great nation. And this potential has been interrupted, disrupted, decimated by a number of leaders that has been around since 1960. And we think it's time to change all that. So there's a local content law actually in Nigeria that offers indigenous companies opportunities in the oil and gas sector. But what are they doing? The moment they get the licenses, they turn around and sell it to the Chinese, they sell to the Americans, they sell to Europeans. And so it defeats the essence of the technological or knowledge transfer that could have happened through local ownership of oil, assets in the oil and gas sector. I am saying that just don't worry too much about the Chinese. Try and make Chinese of your country. If you look at Nigeria, there's practically nothing that is helping other countries grow in Nigeria that we don't also have as a framework. But the question is, are we using it for the purpose for which they are meant? And that boils down to leadership. We don't have leaders who can operate a nation. Like I keep saying, we have wheelers and dealers as leaders. We will have to increase that immediately, but it has to be done in a very strategic way as well. It's to ensure that apart from the natural allocation to education, we have interventions in the education sector. That is to say, funding right now comes from the budget in a way that intervention funds are also available, but we are treating them as slush funds. Even the 5.2% you're talking about don't get to education, they don't get to educate people. Half of it is mostly stolen by our leaders. So the surest way to do it is to increase allocation to education through taxation. I know we're doing that through education tax already, but as I have said repeatedly, our collection rate for taxes is too low. We're about 7.6%, and the sub-Saharan African region is about 15%, which means that we can double our taxes, not increase them, but the collection rate, to the extent that right now we have about $35 billion, which is collected from, to fund our budget. But that can quickly and rapidly go to almost 70 billion if we are appropriately collecting. Collecting from people who actually owe us taxes and plugging the loopholes that have exploited the corruption that has made it impossible for us to collect appropriately. And we allocate at that point over 10% to 50% of our national budget to education. If we don't educate our kids, we are destroying the future of the country. The problem is that for us to achieve anything meaningful in the power sector, one, we needed to increase the wattage available for transmission, for distribution to our people. So we haven't done that. We haven't created power. We have been investing in darkness. $16 billion went down the drain in the last 16 or 20 years. We don't even know what the APC government has spent, but PDP at least invested $16 billion in darkness. And we will find out very soon what APC did with investment in power. First and foremost, we have to invest in generating power. We must move from 3,000 megawatts of electricity to at least 24,000. We must target over 40 million households like they did in Egypt, so that we have 24/7 electricity before we start thinking about, what other measures we should do. Of course, I agree that we should decentralize. We should be using, technologically driven mini-grid systems. We should invest in renewable solar energy, which can be done faster than hydro. We should, figure out a way to evacuate gas without interruption by militants, which we can do by trucking as an alternative to piping gas to power plants that are used by that uses gas. So you have all of these measures in place, but the most important thing is to invest, close our eyes and invest in generation first, and transmit seamlessly and distribute to households. And in addition to power, now let's talk energy. In this country, we don't even have gas pipelines supplying homes directly. That's a huge opportunity there. And the moment you start doing this, you are providing employment for nothing less than 2 to 3 to 5 million people if we actually tackle power the way we should. What you have in Nigeria is that there are two different sides on the wage scale. There are people who are earning maximum wage, and their wage is infinitely, elastic. Yes, and those who are earning minimum wage, and their wages are infinitely inelastic. That is, you can't go beyond 30,000. I am not president yet, so I don't know if I can answer that, directly. But what I know is that we have in our plan a decision to increase minimum wages from the miserable rate they are in now to a living wage that can help our workers increase their purchasing power and jumpstart the local economy. Well, it's Nigerians, here is an opportunity again to move in a different direction. Here's an opportunity to change the course of our nation. It's an opportunity to change the course of our fortune, and of that opportunity to change our leaders to the ones that are working for us as opposed to those who are working against us. And if you vote for Omoyele Sowore, myself, on February 16, 2019, which coincidentally is my birthday, that opportunity is knocking right on your door and will make Nigeria become one of the greatest nations on earth as soon as we are given the opportunity to start work.